Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of Album Release Schedule, this one for the month of May 2026. So it's where I like to provide information on all the upcoming albums for the month ahead. We've got 31 new rock, metal, and alternative albums to go through. So much cool stuff here to cover. We'll get into it in just a bit. But before we start, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do. Leave a comment, hit like. All those things do help support my channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, by turning on notifications, you'll never miss an episode and stay up to date on cool things like this, where we're talking about new albums that will be coming out for May. So we're going to kick off here with the first week of release, May 1st, and there are 8 releases here to talk about. And the first one up, I think, is a pretty major one, at least one I'm really excited about, and that is former Queensryche singer Geoff Tate is releasing Operation Mindcrime 3. Yes, the third part in the trilogy series. That the first 2 came out from Queensryche, but he is finishing it off under a solo album. So it has been 5 years since the last album of any kind that he has put out. And at that time, he put it out under Sweet Oblivion. His last solo album, Kings and Thieves, came out in 2012. In the meantime, though, he did do the Operation Mindcrime project band that he did, and he did a separate trilogy there. But now he is back under his name, releasing the Operation Mindcrime 3 third part. So, as you'll recall, Operation Mindcrime, the original album, came out in 1988 by Queensryche, and they followed that up nearly 20 years on in 2006 with Operation Mindcrime 2. But now, 20 years on from that one, 2026, we're finally getting Operation Mindcrime 3. 13 tracks in all. First single, Power, is out. If you want to get a copy of this, as far as I know, it is only being sold on Geoff Tate's website. It is a bit pricey. It is $29.99 for the CD plus $10 shipping, $39.99 just to get it shipped. I do believe it will be streaming, though, on release day if you want to pick it up or hear it that way. I myself did choose to order a CD. I do want to have that in the collection, so I will be getting it. All right, next up, we got the Eagles. One of These Nights, the original 1975 fourth studio album, is now celebrating a 50th anniversary. It's been expanded to a 3 CD plus Blu-ray deluxe edition. CD1 is a brand new mix of the album. I'm super excited to hear that, although I thought the original one was fantastic. CDs 2 and 3 is an unreleased 16-song live show from 1975, and then the Blu-ray itself has Dolby Atmos and high-res stereo mixes. It's being released by Rhino Records. Next up, UFO, The Wild, The Willing, The Innocent, their 1981 9th studio album celebrating a 45th anniversary, has now been expanded into a 2 CD set. CD1 has the original album plus 3 bonus tracks, and CD2 is live at the Hammersmith Odeon. January 29th, 1981 is that show. It was the debut album for keyboardist Neil Carter, who came from Wild Horses and is currently with Moggs Motel. He took over, obviously, for Paul Raymond. This reissue is out on Chrysalis Records. Next, we got Uriah Heep, Beautiful Dream, 1975 to 77, a 4 CD box set that spans the albums, featuring Return to Fantasy from 1975. That was their 8th studio album at the time. High and Mighty, 1976, which was their 9th. Firefly in 1977, their 10th, and Innocent Victim, also 1977, and their 11th studio album. Plus, there is a whole host of rarities and non-album versions of songs included on those 4 CDs. This is being released by HNE Records. All right, next one here's one I'm excited about. Claypole Linen Delirium, The Great Parrot Ox and Golden Egg of Empathy is the title. Quite a long one there. Third studio album, first new album for them in 7 years since South of Reality in 2019. I really had thought that the pairing of Les Claypool and Sean Lennon might be over, but so glad to see them putting out this new album. It is a concept album that does come with a 24-page comic book telling that story, reflects on morality, mortality, and the warnings of AI, and it is being released by ATO Records. All right, next we've got 90s alternative rockers, the Toadies. The Charmer is the name of this album, 8th studio album, and first new album for them in 9 years since The Lower Side of Uptown in 2017. The new album is recorded with famed engineer Steve Albini, who had worked with Nirvana before his death, obviously before his death with Nirvana, but this was worked on before his death with the Toadies when he passed away in 2024. So featuring 13 new songs and is being released by Space Flight Records. Then we got Crobot, Supermoon, 6th studio album and follow-up to Obsidian in 2024. Band formed in 2011 is one of the more modern bands that are keeping rock alive. I like this band a lot. This new release is out on Megaforce Records. All right, and then we've got glam metal band Sleazebees Power Tool, their 1992 album. It was a 3rd studio album and 2nd with Andrew Elt, who of course first appeared on Screwed, Blued, and Tattooed, their classic album. This was actually their 2nd album. Most people think it's the debut just because it was the widest release for them at the time. But either way, this is their 3rd follow-up to Screwed, Blued, and Tattooed. It has now been expanded to a 2-CD set featuring a bonus disc of rarities and demos, including 5 songs that didn't make the Power Tool album. So for me, at least, that's one of the reasons. Really enjoyed getting a hold of this. It is being put out by Bad Reputation Records. All right, the next week of release, May 8th, has 7 releases to go through here, and we are going to kick off with Peter Gabriel live at WOMAD, 1982 archival live recording. This is the first WOMAD festival performance and features a multitude of artists at it that were not part of the regular featured radio crowd at the time. Of course, a lot of those would go on to become much bigger artists later on and part of the alternative rock movement, but that was what was kind of a big thing about this in 1982. This features the 9-song set that Peter Gabriel performed at the event, and it's being released by Real World Productions. It is the 2nd of 2 archival live recordings that Peter Gabriel had earmarked for this year as the lead up to his brand new album that is anticipated around November, December of this year, after he's released 1 new song per each full moon, gets that whole album released, then we should see it. Next up, Social Distortion, Born to Kill, their 8th studio album and first album in 15 long years. Since Hard Times and Nursery Rhymes came out in 2011, and that album was already a 7-year-long gap since the previous album, Sex, Love, and Rock and Roll in 2004. So I'm tired of these really long gaps. I'm so glad to be finally getting a brand new album here. It's got 11 new songs on it. First single, which is the title track, Born to Kill, is out now, and this is being released by Epitaph Records. All right, this one here pushed back a number of times in March and April. The Toad the Wet Sprocket Rings, the acoustic sessions. This is an album of reimagined songs going back all the way to 1986, performed acoustically, 14 tracks on the album itself, and it's being put out by Abe's Records. Right next, we got The Knack, Knackology, the Zen recordings, so archival material featuring 19 studio, live, and demo recordings from throughout their career, spanning all of their albums, and it's being released on Omnivore Recordings. Next, we have Small Faces, Ogden's Nut Gone Flakes, 1968 third studio album and a concept album, now expanded to a 3 CD set. It's got both the stereo and mono editions of the album and a collection of rare session tracks, providing a glimpse into the recording studio for this band, early versions, alternate mixes, that type of stuff, and it's released on Nice Records. Next, Neil Diamond, Wild at Heart, 33rd solo album, a compilation from his time while working with producer Rick Rubin. So it features 10 unreleased songs written all by Neil Diamond, now completing a trilogy of albums like 12 songs from 2005, Home Before Dark in 2008, Wild at Heart here in 2006. All three of these are the product of his time with Rick Rubin, and it's released on Neil Diamond's own record label. Okay, and then we have progressive metal band Crimson Glory, Chasing the Hydra, 5th studio album and first new album for them in 26 years. It features 3/5 the original lineup, Jeff Lords on bass, Ben Jackson on guitar, and Dana Burnell on drums. New members include Travis Willis on vocals and Mark Bargemeyer on guitar, both coming in 2023. So the original band itself formed 43 years ago in 1983. Unfortunately, original vocalist Midnight passed away in 2009, which is why he is not part of this. This features 9 new tracks and is being released by Brave Words Records. All right, we move on to May 15th with 7 new releases, kicking off with Peter Frampton, Carry the Light, 19th solo album and first new album in 5 long years since Frampton Forgets the Words, which incidentally was an instrumental album. So for this, he's he may have retired in 2019 from touring and everything, but at least he's still recording. And so we are getting this new 10-song album, which also has guests on it like Graham Nash, Benmont Tench, Sheryl Crow, Tom Morello, and many others guesting on the album. It's being released by Universal Music. And next we've got Jethro Tull, Under Wraps, the Unwrapped edition. So it's an expanded 6-disc box set of their original 15th studio album that came out in 1984. It's a collection that also includes Ian Anderson's solo album, Walk Into the Light, 1983 when that came out. So both of those have been remixed with new drums on it. So disc 1, Under Wraps, is the remix with new drums. Disc 2, Under Wraps, with the original mix and drums. Then disc 3, Walk Into Light, remix with new drums. Disc 4 is the original version of that. Disc 5 is live at Hammersmith Odeon 1984, and disc 6 is a Blu-ray content of Dolby Atmos and surround sound mixes. This is being released by Rhino and Parlophone Records. Next, we've got Australian singer Billy Thorpe, Children of the Sun, the 1979 classic, 3rd studio album featuring its original 1979 mix. Now, in 1987, he altered and updated the album itself, giving it a different track listing, a different mix, and it was retitled Children of the Sun Revisited. But that only featured half of the original album. So it is really great to be getting the original mix and running order of the album itself. It's being reissued by Iconoclastic Records. Right, and then we've got Ultravox frontman Midge Uri, Man of Two Worlds, 7th solo album, first new album for him, 112 long years since Fragile in 2014. It is a double album, so you are getting twice the amount of content here, but it's broken into two distinct parts. The first disc, World 1, is 8 instrumentals, and the second disc, World 2, is 8 vocal performances or songs with vocals on it. It's being released in a DVD-size media book and includes a 20-page book with it, and being released by Chrysalis Records. Then we've got Slayer, Hell Awaits, 1985 second studio album celebrating its 40th anniversary. It has now been expanded to a 3-CD earbook. CD 1 is the album remastered, and CD 2 and 3 is a complete live show from 1985. It's got a 60-page book with it, a poster, and it's being released by Metal Blade Records. If you choose to pick up the LP edition of this, there's a whole bunch of memorabilia and goodies that come with it. I don't know why they didn't include that for the CD edition. I'm a little bit bummed out by it, that they would put all that stuff in for the LPs, but not the CDs. Then we've got the Dead Daisies, Live Plus 5. This is the physical release of the previous digital live album that was called Live at Stone Dead and came out August 23rd of 2025. So not quite a full year on, but finally getting a physical release, and for that they are adding 5 additional tracks. These tracks are recorded across the US and European tours during 2024 and 2025. So 19 tracks total across 2 CDs, and is released on their own Dead Daisies Records. And then we've got the Beach Boys, the Pet Sound Sessions Highlights. So it's a 2-CD collection of the classic album sessions that were originally released almost 30 years ago in 1997 as a box set. This new collection is being released to celebrate the album's 60th anniversary, and it features a total of 25 tracks and is put out by Capitol Records. All right, and then for May 22nd, there are 4 releases here to talk about, kicking off with Armored Saint, Emotion Factory Reset, 9th studio album and first new album for them in 6 years since Punching the Sky in 2020. I'm so glad to be getting a new one from this band as well. There are 11 tracks. First single, Close to the Bone, is out, which sounds amazing. Basically really classic 80s metal sound on this track. I'm hoping the rest of the album is just as good as this song here. The album itself will be released by Metal Blade Records. Then we've got Serpent from Eden, self-titled release. It is a tribute to Nick Menza, former Megadeth drummer, who died a decade ago on May 21st of 2016. So the release of this dropping just one day after that. This band found tapes that featured Menza's drumming on it. Apparently, I believe the guitar player and Nick Menza were good friends, and so they had recorded together numerous times and worked together on things. And so with those drum tapes that they found, they decided to build songs around it as a tribute to him. There's 2 singles that are already out, and the second single, Let It Go, features another Megadeth alumni in bassist David Ellefson joining on that one. And then there's another Megadeth alumni, Chris Poland, who guests on the album as well. It's being put out by Cleopatra Records. All right, and then we have Motley Crue drummer Tommy Lee. Tommyland Rides Again. It's a reimagining of his second solo album that was originally released in 2005. So celebrating a 20th anniversary, it's now been remixed by Tommy Lee and Smiley Sean. Adds in 1 unreleased track on it, and it does feature the song Good Times, which was the theme song to the reality TV show Tommy Lee Goes to College from 2005 when the album came out. So the album itself featured that theme song, but it also tied into the book of the same name that was the biography for Tommy Lee at the time. This new release of the solo album comes out on 604 Records. And then we've got Kiss frontman Paul Stanley, Touch of Kiss, an archival live recording from a radio broadcast that was done during his 1989 club tour, featuring 15 tracks, including both Kiss and solo material, with a few cover songs thrown in for good measure. It's being released by Blue Line Records. All right, and the last week of release, May 29th, 5 albums to talk about here, kicking off with former Beatle Paul McCartney, The Boys of Dungeon Lane, 27th solo album. The name itself refers to a winding road that is several miles away from his childhood home. This album produced by Andrew Watt, quite the producer these days, working with all the famous classic rockers, the Rolling Stones, Pearl Jam, Ozzy Osbourne, Iggy Pop, now Sir Paul McCartney. 14 brand new songs, including the first single, Days We Left Behind. It's being put out by Capitol Records. All right, and the reason I got my Bruce Springsteen shirt on, Bruce Springsteen live from Asbury Park 2024, new live album that was previously announced for Record Store Day, April 14th on CD, along with the LP. The LP came out, but they canceled the CD. This here is the CD release, getting a wide release, now a standard version of it. It's a homecoming performance that he did, 3 hours long, 30 songs in total, and the release is coming out by Legacy Recordings. Here's another one that was, came out, the LP came out for Record Store Day. Neil Young, As Time Explodes, a new live album. So here we are getting the wider CD release version of this. It captures Neil along with his new band, the Chrome Hearts, playing a fantastic selection of 13 songs that aren't often played. Songs like Daddy Went Walkin', Looking Forward, the Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young song, Be the Rain from Greendale, Vampire Blues. This release is being put out by Reprise Records. Then we have another live album here from The Who, Live at Eden Project, July 25th of 2023. It was recorded live with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, featuring 24 tracks and over 2 hours of music, and being put out by Sin Italy Records. All right, and last but not least, Lynch Mob, The Final Ride, new live album documenting what was supposed to be the band's final tour, but of course, nothing ever stays dead for long. Lynch Mob returned, initially with a different lineup, but now back with the same lineup. So this here has 11 career-spanning songs for George Lynch on it, and it features the same lineup that recorded the last 2 albums together. Lynch Mob doesn't usually keep the same members that long, so this was kind of a big deal. Gabriel Colin on vocals, Yaron Julio on bass, and Jimmy Deanna on drums, of course, with George Lynch on guitar. And this live release, even though it's called The Final Ride, I almost feel like they should have renamed it something else. I know the tour was called The Final Ride, but they're out touring, so who knows? Never say never when your favorite artist hangs it up. They could return as soon as the following year, just like Lynch Mob did. But this release out on Frontiers Records, and there you go, 31 new rock, metal, and alternative releases for the month of May 2026. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Do check back the last week of every month, where I try to gather up all the different releases that we know about for the month ahead. But don't worry, there's always other new things that are getting announced all the time, even sometimes not finding out until the day of release. So do check in on Saturdays when I do the What Just Dropped series, where I go into all the additional things that I find. So I might have somewhere between like 5 and 8 titles here, but I'll find another 10 or so on release day and tell you about those on Saturday. So there's always so much other great stuff running under the wire beyond even just this, but we have so much cool stuff here to check out. So mark those calendars, gear up, get ready for a lot of great music for the month of May. All right, everyone, take care, have a good one, and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.